The diamond on Aisha's finger sparkled under the fluorescent lights of the restaurant, but her heart felt heavy. Ton had just proposed, a moment she had dreamed of, yet the conversation that followed was anything but a fairy tale. Her mother, Mama Bimp, had already started listing the intricate details of a traditional Yoruba wedding, a ceremony that felt more like a political summit than a celebration of love. Aisha, you must understand, our family's honor depends on this, Mama Bimp had said, her voice a mix of excitement and stern warning. Every single custom must be observed. As Ton drove her home through the gridlock of Suraleh, Aisha felt a growing sense of dread. She had always imagined a simple, elegant wedding, something that reflected her own personality, not a grand spectacle for the approval of 100 relatives she barely knew. Ton, ever the mediator, tried to reassure her. We will find a way to make it work, my love, he promised, his hand gently on hers. But Aisha knew the battle wasn't with Ton, it was with generations of tradition, a force as powerful and unyielding as the Lagos tide. That night, she couldn't sleep. The weight of her mother's expectations pressed down on her, leaving her feeling suffocated. She messaged her best friend, Folktale, a blunt and modern soul who always told her the truth. Mama has a 50-item list of requirements for my wedding, Aisha typed, her fingers trembling. The reply was instant, girl, you are not a doll for their little playhouse. You need to take control. Folktale's words were a wake-up call, and Aisha realized she had a choice to make. She could either be a dutiful daughter or a happy bride. The first major hurdle arrived in the form of the osoebi, the traditional uniform fabrics for family and friends. Mama Bimp had commissioned a renowned designer in Ikeja, and the fabric was to be a rare, intricate lace. This lace shows our status, Mama Bimp had declared, it is the finest in all of Lagos. The fabric was delivered, but a week later, Mama Bimp discovered that several yards were missing. A full-blown panic ensued, with her mother accusing everyone from the delivery man to the neighbors of theft. Aisha felt herself drowning in the drama. She tried to calm her mother, suggesting they simply order more, but Mama Bimp was inconsolable. This is a bad omen, Aisha, she wailed. It's a sign that our honor is being tampered with. The missing lace had become a symbol of her mother's deep-seated anxieties about appearances and respect. The entire family was called in for a meeting, a tense affair where suspicions were thrown around like stones. Amidst the chaos, Aisha's uncle Emeka arrived, his presence a soothing balm. He listened patiently to Mama Bimp's frantic explanation, then calmly suggested a different approach. Let's not accuse anyone, he said softly. Lagos is a big city. Things get misplaced. Let's trace the order from the beginning. His suggestion, while simple, brought a moment of clarity to the escalating madness, and Aisha felt a glimmer of hope that not everyone was consumed by the endless need to impress. The next step in the wedding preparations was the official introduction ceremony, where Ton's family would formally meet Aisha's. This was a day of solemn customs, including the exchange of gifts and a traditional feast. However, a major issue arose during the food tasting. The chef, hired by Mama Bimp, had prepared a magnificent array of dishes, but the Isudu stew, a delicacy meant to symbolize the smooth path of marriage, was deemed to be missing a key ingredient, a special, large snail, a rare find in the local markets. Mama Bimp was furious, seeing this as another sign of disrespect. "How can we present ourselves without the snail?" she fumed. "It is a sign of a cursed marriage, a path full of obstacles." Aisha, exasperated, offered to drive around Lekki to find the snail herself, but her mother refused, insisting it had to be a specific type of snail, one only found in a particular market known to a handful of elders. This simple missing ingredient had spiraled into a dramatic omen, making an already stressful day feel utterly overwhelming. Late that evening, a wizened old woman from the community, a friend of Mama Bimp's, came to the house and shared a story. "The snail is not just a snail," she explained, her voice gentle. "It is the symbol of a secret shared between the families, a gesture of deep trust. Sometimes, a couple's love is so pure they don't need a single snail to ensure a smooth path." Her words were a revelation to Aisha. The ritual was not about the food, but about the unspoken bonds. The old woman's quiet wisdom provided a much-needed perspective and an idea for how to resolve this new crisis. Aisha, now feeling a sense of purpose, decided to delve deeper into her family's past to understand her mother's obsession with tradition. While sifting through old family photo albums, she stumbled upon a collection of letters tied with a faded ribbon. They were her grandmother's, addressed to a suitor she never married. The letters revealed a love story thwarted by family expectations and a secret promise. Her grandmother had been in love with a man from a different tribe, but their union was forbidden. She was forced to marry her grandfather, a man chosen by her family to preserve their status and lineage. This discovery was a revelation for Aisha. She realized her mother's rigid adherence to tradition was not about malice, but about protecting her from the pain her grandmother had endured. Mama Bimp was not trying to control Aisha's life, but to ensure she did not suffer the same fate as her ancestor. It was a misguided act of love, a desperate attempt to create a perfect, respectable union that would not fail under the scrutiny of the community. Armed with this new understanding, Aisha knew she had to approach her mother not with anger, but with empathy. She decided to confront her not about the wedding details, but about the secret she had uncovered. The suspense of this conversation hung in the air, a silent question waiting to be asked. Would Mama Bimp open up and finally share her true fears, or would she continue to hide behind the fortress of tradition? Aisha decided to confront her mother directly. She found Mama Bimp in the living room, meticulously polishing a ceremonial brass pot that had been in the family for generations. Taking a deep breath, Aisha began, her voice soft but firm. "Mama," she started, "I found Grandma's letters. I read about her and the man she loved." Mama Bimp's hand stilled. She didn't say anything, but her eyes, filled with a mix of surprise and sadness, confirmed Aisha's suspicions. For the first time, Aisha saw not a demanding mother, but a woman burdened by the past. Mama Bimp finally broke her silence, her voice a low murmur. "Your grandmother made a promise to me," she said, her eyes glistening. "She told me to never let my children's hearts be broken by family expectations. I promised her I would do everything to ensure your marriage would be perfect in the eyes of everyone, so you would never have to choose between love and family." The truth of the matter was heartbreaking. Her mother's rigid rules were not for her own benefit, but a way to honor a dying wish. Aisha felt a rush of emotion, a mix of sorrow and relief. The constant friction between them was not a battle of wills, but a clash of two different expressions of love. The weight of the unspoken promise had been the silent antagonist all along. The resolution was no longer about a wedding, it was about healing a generational wound and finding a path forward where both tradition and personal happiness could coexist. Following the emotional confrontation, Aisha and Ton decided to take a step back from the wedding chaos. They went for a long, quiet walk along the Lekki Link Bridge, a modern marvel amidst the natural beauty of the Lagos Lagoon. It was a moment of peace, a chance to reconnect and remember why they were getting married in the first place. They talked not about ceremonies or family expectations, but about their dreams, their fears, and their hopes for a future together. During their walk, Ton shared his own struggles with his family's expectations. He revealed that his father wanted him to take over the family business, but he had a different dream, to open a music studio. Their shared vulnerability created a stronger bond between them, a sense of unity against the external pressures they both faced. "It's not just your battle, Aisha," Ton said, squeezing her hand. "It's ours." The peaceful evening was a much-needed reset. Aisha realized that her wedding was not just a celebration, but a testament to their ability to navigate challenges together. They decided to have a serious conversation with both their families, but this time, they would stand united. The suspense now shifted from a family drama to a test of their strength as a couple. Could they convince two traditional families to bend their rules for the sake of their happiness? A formal gathering was arranged at Aisha's family home in Ikeja, attended by both sets of parents and a few key elders. The air was thick with tension, each person silently holding on to their own expectations and fears. Aisha and Ton started by respectfully acknowledging the importance of tradition and the love their families had for them. Then, in a calm and measured tone, they presented a unified front, explaining their desire for a wedding that blended traditional customs with modern sensibilities. Aisha spoke first, sharing the story of her grandmother and the lessons she had learned about the pain of a love suppressed by tradition. "Mama," she said, looking directly at her mother, "I don't want to live a life with unspoken regrets. I want our wedding to be a celebration of love, not just a show for the community." Ton then added, "Our marriage is about our future, and we ask for your blessing to build it in our own way, a way that honors our families while also being true to who we are." The elders and parents listened in silence. For a moment, it seemed their pleas had fallen on deaf ears. Then, a voice broke the silence. It was Aisha's uncle Emeka. "Aisha speaks with wisdom," he said. "The world is changing, and so must we. The true spirit of our tradition is to protect our children's happiness, not to bind them to the past." His words were a turning point, a powerful endorsement that shifted the dynamic in the room and offered a glimmer of hope. After a long and tense discussion, a compromise was reached. The traditional introduction ceremony would proceed, but Aisha and Ton would be allowed to choose their own osoebi and have a smaller, more intimate wedding reception. The missing snail would be replaced by a more accessible ingredient, with a symbolic story of its own. It was not a complete victory for Aisha, but it was a significant step forward, a bridge between two worlds. Mama Bimp, though initially resistant, finally relented. She saw the unity between Aisha and Ton and realized that her daughter's happiness was more important than upholding every single tradition. The weight on her shoulders, the burden of her mother's promise, began to lift. For the first time, she saw Aisha not as a vessel for family honor, but as a young woman with a will of her own, who had the strength to love and honor her family in a new way. The peace that settled over the family was a fragile one, but it was a start. The suspense now lay in the execution of the new plan. Would the compromise be enough to satisfy everyone, or would new challenges arise? The journey to the altar was far from over, but for the first time, Aisha felt like she and Ton were truly walking it together. With the new plan in place, the wedding preparations took on a different, more joyful tone. Aisha and Ton worked together, choosing decorations, tasting food, and making every decision as a team. One day, a package arrived for Aisha. It was a beautiful, hand-woven fabric, the colors and patterns a stunning blend of modern and traditional. A note was attached. It was from the old woman who had given Aisha advice about the snail. A gift of love, the note read, a fabric woven from threads of both old and new, just like your marriage. Aisha was moved to tears. She realized that the community, too, had been a silent observer of her struggle, and many were rooting for her. The fabric became their chosen osoebi, a symbol of the bridge they had built between the past and the future. It was a gesture of deep understanding and acceptance, a validation of their courage to stand for their beliefs. The wedding was no longer just a family affair, it was a community celebration. The wedding day arrived, and as Aisha walked down the aisle, she felt a sense of calm and happiness she had never thought possible. She was wearing a beautiful gown, but the real adornment was the love and respect she had earned from her family and community. The suspense was gone, replaced by the certainty of a love that had triumphed over tradition and fear. The wedding was a beautiful, heartfelt celebration. It was a blend of traditional dance and modern music, solemn prayers and joyous laughter. As the reception came to an end, Mama Bim pulled Aisha aside. Her eyes, usually so serious, were filled with pride. "You have taught me a great lesson, my daughter," she said, her voice trembling with emotion. "You have shown me that love does not need to be perfect in the eyes of others. It only needs to be true." Aisha hugged her mother tightly, finally feeling the warmth of her love without the weight of expectations. She looked across the room at Ton, who was smiling at her. He had been her rock, her partner in navigating this complicated journey. Their wedding was not the one she had initially dreamed of, but it was so much better. It was a true reflection of who they were as a couple. As they drove away into the night, leaving the city of Lagos behind for their honeymoon, Aisha felt a profound sense of peace. The struggles, the tears, the arguments, they had all led to this moment. The story of the Lagos bride was not just a story about a wedding, it was a story about love, family, and the courage to forge your own path, a story that was just beginning. A hidden family secret threatens to tear Aisha and Ton's love story apart just before their wedding. Can they navigate the painful truth of the past and find forgiveness, or will the weight of their family's history be too much to bear? Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, and share your thoughts with me in the comments below.